In your head, you might have the perfect itinerary, but not everything goes to plan. Hi, I'm Melissa. Welcome back to my channel, Journey Through Europe, where I share my European travel tips and tricks, travel vlogs and travel guides. Today, I'm talking about all of my tips and tricks for first timers visiting Europe. It can be super nerve-wracking visiting Europe for the first time. So here are a few of my tips and tricks to help you plan for your trip and hopefully calm a few of your nerves too. My first tip is definitely to plan ahead, especially if you're traveling in the summer months of around June, July and August. It can be super busy in Europe, and a lot of the main attractions, for example, if you want to visit, I don't know, the Vatican in Rome, or you want to visit the Duomo in Florence or Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, those attractions do book up in advance in those summer months, and so you need to make sure if there's anything that you particularly want to do in each city or the city that you're visiting in, that if you can, you book ahead just to secure that. And it's the same with reservations. If there's particular restaurants you want to go to, or there's excursions you want to go on, or there is a day trip you want to take and you need to book a train ticket or a bus ticket, if you can do it in advance, I would definitely recommend doing it, because it just means that you won't be upset when you get there if you want to go to a particular attraction and then it's all booked up, or you've got to wait in a queue for hours to get in. So if you can plan ahead, of course have some flexibility, and I know a lot of people don't like doing that. They like to be a bit more flexible when it comes to holiday, but if you're traveling in those peak summer months, you definitely need to book ahead and plan those essential activities that you definitely don't want to miss on your trip. My second piece of advice is be prepared for culture shock and respect local customs. So when you are visiting a new country, you're visiting Europe, you're visiting different European countries, they're all very different. There's going to be things that are going to shock you about the culture. For example, there's certain cultural norms that you need to be adhering to. So for example, if you're in Italy and you want to visit a church, a lot of the time if you're a woman, you need to make sure that your shoulders are covered, or if you're wearing a hat, you take your hat off. Or when I was living in Spain, I think something that shocked me was, it doesn't happen in all places, but sometimes there would be shops that would shut between around 2 and 6. So I would go to try and do my shopping, and I'd be like, oh, it's 4 o'clock and the shop shut, because they shut at certain times. Or in certain areas of Europe, they eat dinner quite late. That was something I really did notice when I lived in Spain, that my Spanish flatmates would eat a lot later than I do, because I was used to eating at like 6 or 7 and they might be eating at 9 or 10. So there's going to be loads of different things you're going to encounter, so be prepared for that, and also respect those local customs. And if you're going to a particular country or a particular place, read up on those customs before you get there so that it's not too much of a shock. But yeah, be prepared for things to be different. That's the joy of travel. You get to learn about different cultures, experience different cultures, meet different people, but just be prepared for that if you can. My third tip for visiting Europe, and this is if you're definitely traveling and visiting for more than a week or two or a couple of weeks, if you're doing an extended trip, is try and pack as light as possible. Lots of Europe's streets are cobbled, they're very narrow, especially for example, I visited Dubrovnik last year. They had very narrow streets and they were very difficult, lots of stairs. So if you have a lot of luggage, it can be really difficult. I always see it, especially in places like Florence, or even Venice as well, people that have lots of suitcases and then they're having to sort of try and put them onto gondolas to transport them or go over bridges with them. It can just be really, really difficult for you. So if you are going to be changing accommodation a lot, changing cities, traveling a lot, definitely just consider trying to pack only the essentials. And as well, you don't want to overpack, because you do want to get souvenirs and bring things back with you. So just make sure that you are just being as streamlined as possible. I know it's hard, you might want to take loads of things with you, but just think about the space that you can save going there means that you can bring back lots of souvenirs and things back home with you too. Another piece of advice for first timers to Europe is, this is about money and saving money, is actually definitely try, if you can, to use public transport. Public transport here in Europe is great, especially when you get into mainland Europe. Where possible, where you can, if you can use public transport, buses, taking a train somewhere instead of flying, looking at, is it actually cheaper if I take a train between cities rather than flying? That can save you a lot of money, it's a lot better for the environment, and it also means that you get to experience the European public transport system, which is incredible, and it can actually be quite affordable. So definitely shop around and don't just assume, okay, I want to get from this city to this city, should I just take a plane? Actually, you might be able to take a bus, that could be cheaper, or take a train. It's a different experience. You get to see the country as you travel, as opposed to a plane. You don't have to get to the airport hours in advance. So definitely take advantage of that and try and use public transport if you can, because it's a local experience and you can really live like a local and experience how locals get to and from work, get around the city that you're visiting. And on the note of saving money, My other tip is budget wisely, especially if you are traveling Europe for extended periods of time. It can be very, very expensive, and if you are traveling in peak season, it can add up. Costs can add up. So definitely have a budget and budget wisely, and have an emergency fund. Have a contingency such that if you realise that actually something's more expensive than you thought it was, you've got that leeway in your budget. And as well, there might be certain experiences or certain things and unexpected costs that do pop up that you want to take advantage of, and you want to be able to do that. So definitely budget wisely, just to ensure that you are covered for all eventualities, and that you've got that buffer in place within your budget whilst you're traveling around Europe. Another tip from me is, for all trips, this is if you're traveling anywhere in the world, is definitely make sure you have travel insurance, as that can really save you in the eventuality that you have an accident, or your luggage gets stolen, your phone gets stolen, or you need a medical assistance. Definitely make sure that you have travel insurance in place, because it will help you in that time of need. Hopefully you won't have to use it, you won't have to fall back on it, but definitely wherever you're traveling, if in whatever country, make sure you have good travel insurance that you know covers you, because it will definitely pay you back. If you need to use it, it will be there for you to fall back on. And my last piece of advice is to stay flexible. Of course, in your head you might have the perfect itinerary, but not everything goes to plan, and that's kind of the joy of travel. And so staying flexible, and having that open-mindedness to your travels, that actually at some point something could go wrong. It could be that an attraction you want to go to is changed, or that your flight's delayed, or all manner of situations and things could happen. So just staying flexible, taking it in your stride, and being prepared for that, and just being like, okay, how can I rectify this? How can I pivot? If the attraction you want to go to is closed, can you go to a different one? Can you go to it on a different day? Not everything's perfect, not everything can go to plan, but just having that flexibility and making sure that you take it with a smile, take it with a deep breath. Okay, you can get through this, you can work through it. It will just mean that those things aren't really going to shock you and kind of set you back on your trip. So those are all my tips and tricks for traveling to Europe for the first time. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos from me, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.